Hello, everyone. It is just after 8 a.m. on Tuesday, July 14th, and today is our one of our lab days. This is the lab day before another face-to-face test. The face-to-face test, of course, is supposed to happen this week. Normally, it would take place during lab if you were in a face-to-face class, but this is an online class, so it's not being done that way. You guys have until for your class, you have until Sunday at 11:59 p.m. to get it done. You have to do it with the lockdown browser, Respondus monitor, and you also have to follow all the instructions. That means showing me your environment, showing me all your blank pieces of paper on your working surface, and then at the end you have to show me each of your pages of work for each of the problems you did, front and back, and they need to be made very clear. So you want to make sure you're holding the paper nice and still when you take the photograph so that it's not blurry. You also want to make sure it's close enough that I can see everything, but far enough that I can see everything as well. Uh, then when you're done with that, of course, you have 20 minutes to send me the actual documents, the photos. Those photos need to be converted to a PDF, one PDF, not 18 PDFs, and then submitted to me within 20 minutes of taking your test. So whatever it takes for you to get those things made and put into a PDF within 20 minutes and emailed to me, then you just need to make sure you can get that. So if you need an app or whatever, make sure you've got that ready to do it. Make sure you know how to use it. Make sure you know how to put the photographs in all together in one, in order, and not, turned over sideways or this way and then that way and then this way and that sort of thing. So all of those should be in, like I said, within 20 minutes of you submitting your test. Make sure when you're taking the test that you actually follow the instructions I gave you regarding showing me your work. So, for instance, don't use an equation that you're that's not on the equation sheet. If it is an equation that you're using that's not on the equation sheets, then you have to actually derive it yourself. And then when you do write it down, you need to write it down the first time before you go to use it in the exact form that it is on the equation sheet, and then either solve that for whatever variable you want, and then submit the numbers, or leave it as is, put in the numbers inside of for each of the variables, and then solve it that way. That allows me a lot of freedom in giving you partial credit for if you choose the right answer, if you assume the right symbols had the correct numbers, if you basically use the right numbers for each of the symbols, that sort of thing. That all gives me the opportunity to give you partial credit. Again, if you turn in a correct answer with no work, at best, you're going to get about a third of the credit at best. Okay, and you might not even get that. So make sure if the problem requires you to show your work, that you actually show the work. Now, regarding lab this week, in lieu of doing the lab this time, we would normally be doing the Newton's second law lab. That was my intent for today, but I decided instead I want you guys to take the time, and I would like you to score two scores of 80 on the practice test for this face-to-face test. So two scores of 180 before, let's say, before Sunday of this week. So basically by let's say by let's say by 10 a.m. Sunday, you need to have two 80s, or you need to have completed 10 practice tests at scores of, let's say, 50 or better. Okay. And 50 just because I can't have people just taking the test and, submitting answers willy-nilly, but I need you to show me that you're actually trying. Therefore, you need to get a 50 or better. So I need 10 50s or better, or I need two 80s. That's the choice. Okay. Uh, if you get that done, I think you'll see that it's a much better world when you go to take that test, that having taken the practice test so many times. Additionally, I wanted to remind you or tell you what I told people in my class last night. Two of my students have reported that they don't get erroneous pictures loading on the practice test if they use, in one case, it was the Microsoft what is that? Microsoft Edge browser. And in the other case, a student using Safari browser from the Mac world, if they use that, they didn't have the pictures mess up. Again, that might just be their particular computer, their particular setup, that sort of thing. It might not work for you, but I want you to do that. I am still in the process of replacing all of those modules or all of those banks that I use for those tests, and that should be completed probably in the next couple hours. I'm still working on it. So you might not have any problem with it either way, meaning once I replace these actual banks, you shouldn't have problems with the images loading anymore. At least that's the conclusion that we've made it here at TCC. We've submitted a ticket to Canvas, the big company, and still haven't gotten a reply from them. So I suspect that either one, they're BS, which I can't imagine. They handle so many schools and they're a BS company, or two, that it's such a problem that they're not quite up to speed on figuring out how to fix it yet. Or three, they're just really, really busy and understaffed. So something like that's going on, but we're doing our best to try to fix it here. Meant that this weekend I spent the weekend making about 30 new banks with about 2,000 questions, and I had to create them all over the weekend. So, anyways, that's what I'm going to be doing. But that's it for today. You guys, you don't have to turn in a lab for this particular meeting, and of course, next meeting we don't have it all. I will log in at let's call it. No, I'll go ahead and log in at 8 on Thursday, and when I log in at 8 on Thursday, that's just going to be a Q&A session if anybody has any. Not going to do a lab, but it's just a last minute question and answer session in case anybody has any questions or are having difficulties with certain types of problems prior to this test. So make sure y'all show up for that if you can. If you can't, that's okay. This is an internet class, and you're not required to be here at any particular time, but I'm just making that available for anybody. Additionally, of course, though I haven't had anybody ask, you can, of course, schedule an office hour with me that we can do via Zoom, or I could show up to my Virginia Beach campus if that's necessary. But normally, just about everybody can be served by Zoom. So make sure you text me, or if you don't want to text me, you can send an email. But texting gets to me a little quicker and a little easier for me to reply in real time, really quickly. So thanks for coming, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. Don't forget, you do have a test due. You also have an online test due, so you got to make sure you do that one as well. That online test is really meant to give you some confidence and some practice going into the actual face-to-face test. So don't let this, attempted method of helping you make a better grade, don't let that become a bad grade because you just didn't do it. So make sure you do that. Make sure for today's meeting you have to do 10 scores of 50 or higher, or 2 scores of 80 or higher on the practice test. So for the practice test for this week's face-to-face test, make sure you get that done. And I will see you again Thursday. I will sign in for a open Q&A session. It's not going to be a lecture. It's a Q&A session, and it's driven by you. Nobody shows up. I just kill the meeting and call it a day, and I probably won't even post the video of it, though I'll have a record of it. So y'all have a good one, and work hard on prepping for this face-to-face test. If everybody takes this third face-to-face test, then I will probably drop the lowest of the 3 face-to-face tests. The big thing is I need everybody to take this third face-to-face test. I don't want anybody saying, okay, well, I'm good enough, so I'm not going to take this third test. If that happens, then I'm just not going to drop the lowest face-to-face test. So please, everyone, do your best on this one. And even if you do really badly, and even if all 3 of your face-to-face tests are really bad, that doesn't mean that you can't pass the class. That means you really need to do really well on the final and show me that you peaked at least the bare minimum correct time. So keep that in mind. And I look at those sort of things, and I don't do it the other way around. So, for instance, if you've been making really good grades and then you tank on the final, I compute your average according to the syllabus rules. And if that average is high enough for you to still get an A, you get an A. I'm not going to give you an F because you scored a 12 on your final comprehensive final exam. But that would more than likely, if you got a 12 on your final exam, you're probably not going to be able to get an A, period. Okay. So thanks for watching, everyone. You have a good day, and I'll call it a day. Bye bye.